Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Dr. Judy WTF. And I hope everyone out there is healthy and taking care of their health and putting boundaries around themselves that are both non-permeable when needed, non-permeable to viruses and violence. Yes, they start with the V word, and so does victory. So hopefully we will be victorious over both. And this show is about healing and the demise of narcissism. So I think you've all heard the term "it takes two to tango," and that's what it takes to create a system gone wrong. So there is one side of the system and then the other side of the system, and they need each other to do the dance of demise. However, what happens when you heal is that you stop doing that dance. And today's episode was inspired by a patient of mine who just finished her 10 sessions of mind map therapy. I should officially call it the Be the Cause mind map system. And without revealing identity, respecting the patient, it was such a beautiful journey because initially she was just going to come for like a session or two, which I don't encourage because this truly is a system of healing. And by the time she got to her third session, she decided to do the whole series of 10 and go from her wounds of childhood through her chaos and defense mechanisms and breakdowns and to her paradigm shift and healing and recreating herself. So what inspired me about her process is that she kept saying that the happier she got and the more we dismantled her core beliefs, which revolved around voicelessness and powerlessness, the more upset her narcissistic family became. And I thought, well, then that's the trick, isn't it? It's always the solution. As we heal, we don't get embroiled in these systems gone wrong because they don't really do anything for us. And I think we have a call-in. So, hi, you are on the couch. And what is your name, please? Hi, you there?
There's no one here.
They are or not?
No.
Okay. So anyway, when I watched her go through this process, she kept telling me how upset her mother became and how upset and quiet her husband became, the two primary narcissistically injured people in her life. And as she was going through this, I thought, well, there's the demise of the narcissistic system because she's really not embroiled in it any longer. So I want to talk about what happens when we heal. Well, what happens when we heal is obviously we get more conscious. Obviously, we feel more powerful and less confused and less angry and less triggered, and our amygdalas calm down and our defense mechanisms become healthier and stronger and defend us better against the outside forces. And in general, we become so conscious and aware that we don't really want to play that horrible game of life anymore. What happens to the people who are engaged in the horrible game is they become confused. Why is she not being upset when I insult her? Why is it that when I roll my eyes or pull away, she's just not being that triggered? Why is she looking happier? Why is she taking her energy away from me, and instead of being concerned and on top of trying to please me, how come she's out there in the world and manifesting the best of her best? So this becomes very, very confusing for narcissists because they expect that because you're toxically bonded to them and because they've groomed you so well to comply to their need for narcissistic approval and esteeming, they get very upset when that game stops. So I'm starting at the end here. I'm telling everybody that the key to stepping out of this narcissistic game and dismantling the system gone wrong is for you to heal. And what do I mean by heal is, let's go through the whole mind map once again. And by the way, I'm Dr. Judy Rosenberg. I'm founder of the Be the Cause mind map system for healing human and global disconnect. And I'm also the founder of the Psychological Healing Center. We have a beautiful staff of people who do this mind map process, as well as a video, the 9-panel mind map video that I created, and another video on recovering from narcissistic abuse. And there's just a lot of material out there to help you heal through this, so that you can never fall victim to this narcissistic, horrible game of life. And for those of you who haven't grabbed a copy of my PDF, it's free, Be the Cause Healing Human Disconnect. You can just grab it from my website, psychologicalhealingcenter.com. And also, you can download a bunch of your a blog. You can look at all kinds of blogs. There's so much information out there. So let's put the mind map up and people can understand what I mean by healing. Because if you're in a raw, unhealed state, remember, you're vulnerable. You're dying for attention. You want the love. You're easily manipulatable. You're easily toxically bonded with somebody that is toxic for you. And this system gone wrong starts with what I refer to as the cause, the blueprint. That's why I call my book Be the Cause, because somebody else was the cause of the outcome of part one of your life, and now I'm giving you a pathway so that you could be the cause of the outcome of part two of your life. So if we go back to the mind map and see how this nasty system developed, you can see that in panel one, we've got the light, and then we've got all those shadows. And these shadows are metaphors for bruises and injuries, both physical and emotional. And the light represents the potential for a whole and complete self. It represents your light. And so the shadows that I'm particularly refer to are oftentimes the ones that I discuss most in the therapeutic room, abuses and neglects. So physical, sexual, emotional abuse. Emotional abuse includes name calling, anything that puts the person down and hurts the person's self-esteem. And then out of these abuses, also parents participate in neglect. So emotional or physical neglect would be the act of omission. They're not doing for the child what they need to do. And then the last form of abuse is simply smothering, control, powering over the child, weakening the child so that they never really grow out of the confines, the emotional confines of the family, and then they're stuck and weak and become pawns of their parents, and they never really separate and individuate. So these are the injuries that lead to becoming perfect mates, whether it be a love mate or a business mate or a friendship mate or a mate with a boss, coworker. This is the setup. This is the blueprint. And we have these injuries that then create this bad blueprint. And then we have all kinds of reactions to these injuries, from shutting down, carrying pain in our body. As we now know, more research is showing that the mind and the body is intimately interconnected, and we do carry these pains in our, not only in our psyche, but the body and the psyche work together. And these reactions can be devastating to the point where Dr. John Bowlby, who talks about attachment theory, has with his researcher many years ago, Dr. Ainsworth, they did studies about children who are not touched. And if you're just not connected to, if you're humanly disconnected from, you can begin to not only emotionally die, but in severe cases, you physically die. So this is that horrible blueprint gone wrong. And then the outcome are these negative core beliefs. If you look at panel number 3, you can see a DNA strand there. And the panel number 3 is the encoding. So in the case of people who have been injured, they may encode some pretty horrible messages like, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I don't have a voice, I will always be betrayed, and so on and so forth. In terms of the narcissistic encoding, the narcissist may, in essence, identify with the aggressor and at times overvalue him or herself. So the person might fluctuate between I'm amazing to doubting themselves, and then eventually building false self around all of this doubt and shame and guilt, and appearing as though they are strong and powerful and omnipotent when in fact inside there's a hollow core. And so as we heal through panel 1, 2, 3, we are less prone to being triggered by the encodings, the low self-esteem effects of the wounds and the reactions. We're less likely to be triggered into panels number 4, which is chaos, and 5, which is our defense mechanisms, and 6, which is our ultimate breakdowns. So if we are healing through all of this, and someone, even if it is the primary caretaker, comes back and tries to re-trigger us, even so, we will not fall vulnerable to being activated and then dismantled physically, psychologically. So these are the benefits of healing. And then, of course, we don't want to bond with them anymore, because as we heal, we also outgrow the process. And this can happen on a micro scale. It can also happen on a macro scale as societies evolve as opposed to devolve. And I know we've been seeing attempts at evolution, and sometimes, the one step forward and 2 or 3 steps back kind of thing that happens on I call it what the Freud basis individually, and on a macro scale, we could see that I believe that we're attempting to break through. It's just that when we're unhealed, we tend to break down and repeat and destroy, and we never quite get to the breakthrough part. And this is a call-in show, everybody, so I'm sure that you have had experiences of healing, and what happens when you stand up for yourself and you show yourself to have a stronger core sense of self, and you no longer play into the hands of the narcissist, the narcissistic system, and that what happens to the people who in your life have had so much power over you, and then realize that they just don't. So please do call in. That number is 323-524-2599. And of course, you don't have to say your real name. You can just remain anonymous, and that's good enough for the conversation. So can you see why when you heal your childhood wounds, you become in essence immune? You have a stronger immunity. We're talking so much about immunity against the coronavirus. Well, I call the psychological virus the psychovirus. And so glad to have a call in. Hi, and what is your name, please?
Dale from Washington.
Hi, Dale. Nice to talk to you. I think I've talked to you before, yes?
3 years ago, 2017 is when I first talked with you and bought your book, and I read it about at least over a half dozen times. And I read every paragraph multiple times, and I highlight it and I circle what applies to me or people I know, and it's been invaluable. And I wanted to tell you that I did reach this healing you're talking about, and it's an amazing transformation. The hollowness, the emptiness, being an overachiever and an accomplished person, but never feeling very good about anything that I ever did because it never was something that could please the people that had power over me, and they just never gave me any credit for it and said, gee, you're nothing special. So all of those things you mentioned is what I felt, and I just felt empty and hollow.
Yes.
But when I finally realized, I looked at your system, and I don't look at it, I look at it in a different way. I call it, I understand the game that's being played, and I am no longer playing that game. And now that I understand that, I've got my self-love, I've got all these things I never had in life, and tremendous strength. I don't get triggered by things I used to get triggered by, and I don't feel anxiety, I don't feel depression. I'm focused on what I want and what I'm going to do. I don't really care what other people want or what they're thinking about. They have no power over me anymore. Yes. I took my power back. And the transformation, I think people think it's hard, but once you start understanding, like I said, I call it the game, and your book is invaluable for that. Just read it over and over. It is amazing. In fact, I keep a copy of it constantly, and I just every time I have a free moment, I'll look back through it and I'll say it's a refresher, because even though I kind of think you have to have that ability to always never let yourself slip back, if that's the word.
First of all, I so appreciate how deeply you delved into it, and repetition is the mother of learning. And every time you go through it, you can think to yourself, oh, okay, it applies to this circumstance and that. And so it's almost like you can never read it enough, because you can always think of a new example. And even when I do the work with the mind map, it just keeps giving me more and more metaphor and more connect the dots. And it's almost like this endless source of generativity of information, as you said, the game. Because I talk about a better game of life. I keep repeating it in the book. Part one is the bad game, and be the cause so that you can have a better outcome and play a better game of life. So I'm pretty impressed that you keep going through it and through it and through it. And that is, in essence, what it takes, because it's not just a one-time pass-through. It's like a massage. You've got a knot. You don't just have a one-time pass-through. Sometimes the therapist has to just kind of like get into the knot and massage it around and disperse the energy. So wow, that's
well, the excitement, the aha moment, the awakening. It was like, oh, this is what's going on in my life, and oh, this is what they're doing, and it's not me, and they're the ones that are playing the games. They're the ones that are doing the manipulation. Because I've always felt like, gee, this doesn't make sense, and everything is turned crazy, and you, no matter how hard you worked as an overachiever or as a somebody that was always trying to make sure that everybody's taken care of, it was exhausting, and you never could win that game. And then when I finally had you lay it out as to what was actually going on, it all made sense. And then I put your book, I actually put the names of the people in my life, in my family, friends, coworkers, whoever was giving me the issues, I would put them with the paragraph where you identified what were the rules of that particular game, part of the game.
Unbelievable.
Part of
you almost like created your own case studies as you went through it. You went through that concept, and then you plugged this one's name in and that one's name in. And you just gave me an idea, because part of healing is having an enlightened witness. And it just, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I never really straight up looked at the book of the system as an enlightened witness. Of course, I had no idea when I doodled the mind map back in, oh my gosh, 2002, I think, was when I started doodling this. Not a thought occurred to me that this would be anything, and not a thought occurred to me that eventually I would put this together into a system of healing. As many of you know, this was a pathway to healing global disconnect, which we desperately need. And I would love to be part of the solution with the mind map and apply it to national issues, global issues. That would be quite a challenge and quite a dream come true for me. But what I'm getting now, after you said it so beautifully, and thank you, is that the book is sort of acting like an enlightened witness to people, so that they don't sit there going, yeah, this is horrible. I'm a weak person. I must be not good enough. I must be powerless. I must be this. This is straight up. This kind of information needs to be exposed, explained, and then a system around it to support that these are a bunch of lies that need to be.
And I think it allowed me to minimize contact with those who were giving me issues. And like you said, they were very upset that all of a sudden I wasn't playing the game and not going along with it. And so that I was perfectly fine with that. And I told them, I said, I'm kind of on to the whole system, and I don't need to play this game. And I let them know that's what it was. I said, all the problems, I said, you're the ones causing them, and you're the ones creating them. And I said, I'm through with that. I don't need that. I'm not going down that road anymore. I've got a life to live on my own, and it's been very, very good after that. And I've used that. I've told other people about it. I have no problem in speaking on this and letting people know that it took 60-some years for me to wake up to what was going on, and I'm thankful that I was awoken and that happened, because I couldn't imagine if I were still back in what the situation was before, going through life clear to the end and not having this freedom, because it is so peaceful and relaxing and enjoyable, and you can sit back and observe, and you just don't. Even now, I see people that are going through it. I say, gee, if you ever want to talk, I can kind of enlighten you a little bit on what you might be going through and tell you what's happening. And I've talked to some people that have had some terrible situations in relationships. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, it's put them at ease, and all of a sudden they're looking into it. So I think it's a service to everybody, and I appreciate what you've done.
Well, thank you very, very much. And I've been reading articles today, especially after having the 10th session with this wonderful patient that I've been working with. And, whenever I go into therapy with somebody, I have no idea. I just do what I do. And then it's always so almost miraculous for me to watch the mind map system at work, because who knew? It was a pretty picture on a nice little piece of paper, nice theory, nice philosophy, but you can't really know until you do the work and see how people move through it. And other than that, it's just a theory and a philosophy. So today, when she ended the last session, and she just had this air of freedom around her, and she was laughing, and prior to that she was quiet and voiceless and at the effect of, and now she just cleared her life and got involved with her studies, and she's just got such a pathway of optimism, and it was really, really beautiful. And I thought to myself, and I told her, I'm doing a show called Healing and the Demise of Narcissism, because the more she talked about her mother and her other narcissistic family members not appreciating her growth, the more I realized that that's the key. If everybody can do their own healing, this game cannot exist. It simply cannot exist.
And I think too, Dr. Judy, other people have seen the transformation, and I can't tell you how many people are so much more respectful and have come up and said, I can see a big change in you, and I want to tell you that I admire you and respect you. And that's kind of an unusual side effect that I hadn't seen, because of things I'm doing. We're going through some terrible family medical situations, which I probably couldn't have done if it weren't for the fact that I had the strength to do it. And people saying, I'm just in awe of you because I can't believe how you're able to work through this. And I don't feel burdened at all. That's the thing. And I 3, 4, 5 years ago, it would have been a terrible burden. It would have been a catastrophe. But right now, it's just another thing to deal with because I have the inner strength and the inner core is all solid and everything's fine. And I'm not triggered by this. It's just another hurdle to overcome, and we'll get through it. So that's the important thing. I thought, man, this stuff is so powerful. And I saw your show title, and I thought, I've got to call.
I'm so glad you did. And one thing that you alluded to, maybe you said it, is that when we identify it and not with it is where we take our power back. So if somebody says to you, oh, Dale, you're a stupid idiot, or you're a loser, Dale, or it almost becomes a little bit comical at that point because you're watching these words come at you and you're not being triggered by them, and you're feeling really powerful that it doesn't really matter what another human being thinks about me. It just doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I've had people who try to do things like that, and it is comical because I know what's going on exactly, and I feel sorry for him. I say, geez, it's just too bad you're going through all that in life because I'm in great shape. And say whatever you want, but I've got my stuff together and I feel good about it, and you really mean nothing to me. So have at it, whatever you want to say. It doesn't, no triggering ever. And it's just, it's intellectual in a way. I mean, it puts you in a whole nother realm, which you're in control, and all the noise went away.
Yes. And the amygdala, the panel 2 that I allude to, is just really dialed down because you're no longer a reactionary, you're now an actionary. Is that a word? If not, maybe. Another one of my Dr. Judy isms. I have a ton of them in the book. But I really...
I'll send you a private message sometime, and I just want to thank you. And I know you've got a wonderful show to do tonight, so I'll cut out of here. But just, again, I'm very grateful to you, and I wanted to say that.
I so appreciate it, and thank you. It's just always beautiful for me, and a little bit still. I don't think I've ever overcome that surprise element of, wow, this really is a process that takes people from through to. It really is a paradigm shifting. I don't think I'll ever get over it. So thank you for reminding me. Appreciate it. Okay, and I'll look for a private message. Okay. So again, you see, Dale's talking about just not playing into the game. It's a game, and he's out. And when he's out, then the people trying to pull you in and tug at your toxic ties just doesn't work anymore, because you are no longer with that empty core of self, as he referred to. It's not an empty core anymore, because what does it take to form a human psyche that's healthy? Well, go back to John Bowlby, and he talks about eye contact and skin contact and mirroring and attunement and having a significant family structure and support and so on. And so what if you don't have that? Does that mean that you're basically screwed for life? Well, I don't think so, because I've watched it to be otherwise. I have had many people come through the Psychological Healing Center who are broken, who have had highly abusive parents. And again, I can't overemphasize how important it is for people to be enlightened witnesses, how healing that is, whether the enlightened witness is my book or another book or a person or a teacher or an aunt or uncle or a friend who just is able to say to you, wow, that was crazy, the way your mother or your father treated you. That's just out there, inappropriate, and you have every right to feel the way you do. And last week I talked about arrested development, and that's how our development is arrested, because we don't have that fiber built. However, once we start going through it and going into the pain of the wounds, it's almost like you have to go back and open it up and reprocess the anger and the betrayal and lots of feelings. It's only then that you could work through it and see that your blueprint is just an outcome of the treatment and the messages, both verbal and nonverbal, because it doesn't take only words for the child to get the message that they're not wanted. A 1-year-old can get that message and doesn't understand the words, "You're not wanted." I think we have another call-in. So hi, you are on air. Hello? Was that a call-in?
Caller, you're on
Yes,
air.
this is Laura.
Oh, hi, Laura. Nice to talk to you. Do we know each other? Have we spoken before?
Yes, I went through the system of the panels and I bought your book.
I had a feeling.
And my
Hi, so nice
Yep.
to hear your voice. It's great to hear you.
Yes. Thank you. I'm a little nervous. I've never called before,
Yeah.
but I wanted to call because this show is REM and my husband did as well. And we're doing great. And I wanted to thank you.
Oh, I'm more than delighted. More than delighted. And you know, as you know, Laura, going through the process and identifying the lies, you just have to
Yes.
see where they came from and what you do with all this
Yes.
messaging and how you weave it into this story that I'm not sure you're doing a WTF, right? And then you pick people.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah, and then you're picking people that play right into the game, and so beautifully so. Map system, and you're in a relationship, and your significant other is not doing the mind map system and is not healthy. The warning is that you will outgrow them. You will outgrow them, and so the best possibility is that you do maybe at it and triggering each other. You can refer back to, oh, I see, my panel on childhood wound is now being activated, and my husband is triggering a negative core belief that's based on a lie. So do you feel at this point that you could work that process in your mind?
I do it almost and it's almost like such a relief to have that calmness inside. I'm not 100%, you know, all the time on and ready for the game. But
what about your husband? Do you feel that he has also elevated to the point where he can identify it and not with it and not get dismantled?
He's absolutely working hard toward it. It's in our home, and we can see people in our lives now. It's like taking the veil off of our eyes.
You're breaking up a little. I'll just repeat some of the stuff that I think you said, that it's taking the veil off of your eyes. And what did you say about the people in your lives?
We're able to notice who are the narcissists that are abusing us as a couple, because we both have very dysfunctional, you know, families of origin, and we notice the patterns, and it's almost like both of us have the same type of relatives, but in each of our families, you know, and you know, like you can draw a line from this name to that name, you know.
Pretty much. It's amazing. And by the way, Laura, I wanted to tell you that if on Facebook, I've got to figure this out. I'm not a techno savvy person at all. People can friend me on Facebook, and I have a personal one, and I need to create like a business people friend me thing. So if I didn't accept anything, it's because I haven't figured out how to have people friend me in the psychological healing center. Okay, so that's all that's going on. But I have an opportunity to tell you that.
That's fine.
Yeah, and this is a work in process, and it doesn't matter how old you are. Okay, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Right? You could have been married for 2 years or 20, 30, 40 years, because a paradigm shift is just that. A paradigm shift is that once you see something, you can't unsee it. Once Hipparchus, right, saw with the telescope that the sun was the center of the universe and not the earth, he couldn't unsee it. Now people want to kill him for that, because how dare the earth is the center, right? But you can't. So once you shift, you can't unshift, and that's why it's so powerful. It's just your whole way of being moves around, doesn't it?
Yes, and I think that it's so important to do this, because I've been to different types of therapy throughout my life, and this course of panel working that I've gone through has changed me so much and given me so much strength and peace and calm and everything that has been missing, and I just can't thank you enough for the lessons and all of the moments of, aha, that's what's going on, the light bulb moments, I call it. And my mind is just growing, and I'm 54 years old, but I'm going to have a great ending of my life. The beginning and the middle, not so much, but the rest of it from that point on, from the aha moment, it's never going back to the other way.
And just so what's the title of the show, Healing and the Demise of Narcissism. So therefore, as you heal and you're no longer triggered and you're a witness, the abuse and the pain, what happens to all the people who want to yank your chain, who want to pull you back, who want to put you down, who feed off of the energy of, the more I hurt you, the better I feel, which is called projection. Let's vomit all my pain on you. And then as vulnerable, sensitive people, we soak that pain in, and then we identify with pain, which is called projective identification. Okay, so now we own the pain, and when we bust the system, we don't absorb. We become observers and not absorbers. So what's happening to the narcissists in your life, in terms of what my intention for tonight was, is that, are you seeing a demise in the system here?
I'm seeing them not bother me. They're basically they're disengaging because they no longer have me as a toy. They don't get to use my emotions against me and use me for their own gratification and money issues. I'm no longer their victim of circumstance, basically, because they're not able to tap into my heart anymore. I've put up a nice shield of protection for myself, and they don't even call me. They don't have anything, and I'm happy. I'm so relieved. It feels unbelievable. Like the sun has shone on into my life, and I'm moving into different directions with my life, and everything is just beautiful. I feel like I'm almost whole. I'm about 95% there, I think. I'll probably reread your book, and my husband is reading it with me out loud, and we're going to continue to go back to it for a boost, and
just like Bill said, and believe it or not, sometimes I have to visit my own mind map, because like everyone else, I'm human. I get triggered. I'm a little soft-hearted. Sometimes I do something that I believe we talked about called positive projection, where I give people credit before they earn the credit. So sometimes I have to use my own system with myself, right? And the beauty of the system is it's not subject to a person's daily mood. It's something that you can, outside of yourself, you can say, oh, that's what happened. There's the flow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out of that. And that's the best immunity to dismantling the narcissism. And I think I have another
Right.
caller, and I really, really
Okay.
appreciate hearing your voice. And of course, it was such a pleasure to work with you and your husband. And please keep in touch.
Thank you.
And I promise I'm going to
Yes.
figure out this Facebook thing, because I want to have people
Okay.
sign on, but not like a private sign on, more like the psychological Dr. Judy Center sign on. So anyway, I'm really happy for you, and thank you so much for calling in tonight. Okay, and I think we have another caller. Is that correct?
Not anymore.
Okay, well, call back. I'm sorry I went on, and I wanted to obviously finish my thought. And yes, so I want to move into a couple of articles that I've been reading. And here's one by Shahida Arabi, MA, Recovering from a Narcissist, November 19th. 2019. So she talks about a few concepts here. I want to just highlight them. She talks about malignant narcissists and sociopaths and psychopaths as partners, friends, family members, and coworkers. And she talks about societal invalidation and the gaslighting of the survivor. And this is the opposite of the enlightened witness. A lot of people will say, oh, no, he wasn't that bad a guy. You're making too much of it, and just get over it. It'll be okay. And so here are some things not to say. Okay, this is actually from another article, but what not to say. Get over it. Don't say to somebody that's right in the middle of withdrawing from a toxic bond, just get over it. Don't say to them, you have to let it go. Why? Because they can't let it go, because they feel that their survival depends on their being bonded to this person. You need to move forward. Well, no, they can't move forward because they're in a complex PTSD situation, and their brain is doing a what the Freud, trying to figure it out and trying to figure out what's wrong with them. And so one of the references in the article says that it's better for you to be the enlightened witness to what the person did to violate you. Another thing not to say is, oh, you just might be codependent. Well, yeah, that might be. It's just that sentence is not really addressing the system gone wrong and how people are groomed to fall into this trap, and how society can actually injure more than help. As well as some therapists, I've heard therapists say things like, oh, just get over it. You're dwelling too much on your past. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about you. Let's not talk about him. Let's talk about you. Well, sometimes it's important to talk about him or her and say, that person just doesn't sound healthy. What do they say to you? That's no, oh, what do they do to you? Oh my God, that's just really out there. And that's the enlightened witness thing. And that's healing. When you brush it off and casualize this, it's just the opposite. And then the other one is, why did you stay so long? Well, they stayed long because they felt like they were in a Stockholm syndrome, and they were toxically bonded to their the people who were their captors. And so this is very complicated stuff. And so in order to really disentangle yourself from this, you've got to go through a deep healing process and get some immunity. I just wanted to go a little bit into this. And in her article, she talks about some person, Ariel Lev, explains that this form of secondary gaslighting is incredibly traumatic. This gaslighting from others, invalidating the reality of the person who's going through it. It's traumatic. it wasn't just that my reality was canceled, that it was my perception of reality was overridden. It was overridden. It wasn't the loudest and scariest explosions that caused the damage. It wasn't the physical violence or the verbal abuse or lack of boundaries. What did the real damage was the denial that these incidents ever occurred. The erasure of the abuse was worse than the abuse. How about that? And yes, we have a call-in. Hi, you are on the couch. And what is your name, please?
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Dr. Judy.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear. This is Curtis. I've been a long-time listener for a pretty long time, and I just want to say thank you first because your work is great. I've watched most of your shows.
Have we spoken before?
Just through email. I sent you an email saying that I liked what you were saying and everything, and you responded. You were very kind. I'm from Chicago.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And yeah, thank you for your kind acknowledgement. And so how do you relate to the topic of healing? And then, you know, when we heal, we're destroying the system. That's it.
I agree. So I need to learn more boundaries because, and I know people hate because everyone overuses it, but I'm on the spectrum of more the empath side, and I'm not a codependent. That's the thing, because they keep saying everyone's a codependent if you're empath. I'm not. I know who I am, and I know what I want, but yeah, I'm called a codependent even though, because other people don't respect my boundaries. That's the thing. They call me that. I don't know why.
So look, if you're empathic, and you know what is the rarest commodity on the planet, in my opinion, is we don't have a gas shortage or a food shortage or this shortage or that, as much as we have a shortage of empathy. And that's the way we're supposed to be. We're supposed to feel for other people's pain. We're not supposed to get pleasure from other people's pain. And somehow this whole thing has worked. Okay, and this is because when parents put their own feelings before their children, they're teaching them that they matter more than the children. Okay, and so empathy sometimes it's hard. You know, it's a dying commodity here. Okay, but on the other hand, people who are more empathic, right? People, yeah. I'll put myself in that category because I tend to positively project on people. I might do something like leave my purse on the table at a restaurant thinking, I wouldn't take somebody's purse. I wouldn't dig in there and take their wallet. Yeah. So why would they? And, you know, this is the positive projection, right? Or I will care so much, but then when I don't get it back, I'm almost like stunned. Okay.
Yeah.
Until I started learning and putting this mind map together, and I was like, oh, well, people like that are going to be very attracted to me because I'm a giver, and you know I could bleed to death here. And then that's where the boundaries come in, right?
Yes, I agree 100% with you. And if I did see food on the table not used, or food, I would want to go feed the homeless probably outside the window. So that I'm like you. But
that's a beautiful
topic. Go ahead.
No, I said, you know, don't lose the quality. It's just that you don't want to be feeding a vampire who's going to take you dry. And how do you know that? I know when I'm being sucked dry because I start getting a backache, I start getting depressed. I might, I might feel really tired. Yeah.
You are exact, and that's where I am, and I'm not in the best place right now. I know I can't say the whole story, but I just wanted to say that I think I have adrenal fatigue right now because the past few years I've been going through abuse, and I actually, my partner my borderline partner of 18 years, triggered back after his father died, back to his own trauma. And long story short, I've been put out in the middle of COVID and in a hotel. Go ahead.
You said you've been put out? Like, where are you living?
In a hotel right now. He was the provider, and he's my borderline partner who made a false report. And I am in the court system right now. I was falsely arrested and everything, because you can't evict people right now. The system helps him. And I was arrested, but then all charges were dropped, and I was met with order of protection. And I haven't been home since then. I've been kept out against governor's orders. So it's a complicated story, but I'm trying to get through this because it's all about control and everything with him. And I tried to save him. I tried to heal him and tried to get him therapy with the DBT and all that. And yeah.
Was it helpful?
Sorry.
Was the DBT helpful at all?
2 years he's been in it, but this is where I get confused. If a therapist knows that he's being abusive and it's not a couples thing, when is it stop where you're like, stop? They get involved and it breaks like client privilege, that they need to do something. You know what I mean?
Oh, I was
He's going.
reading. I'll see if I could find it. It was such a right to your point kind of thing where they says abuse is not a relationship problem. I love this line. The primary reason we don't recommend couples counseling is that abuse is not a relationship problem. Couples counseling may imply that both partners contribute to the abusive behavior. When the choice to be abusive lies solely with the abusive partner, I would say with, a result of the injury, focusing on communication and other relationship issues distract from the abusive behavior and may actually reinforce it in some cases. So you can't do therapy when people are hitting each other. It's just like once it crosses a certain point. Additionally, a therapist may not be aware that abuse is present and inadvertently encourage the abuse to continue or escalate. Okay, by saying things like, I don't think your husband or wife or significant other meant to hurt you. So there's got to be, again, enlightened witness, there's got to be an acknowledgement. And usually when there's that acknowledgement, the person who is doing these acts of verbal, physical violence, they don't want to self-reflect or self-correct because they're very busy projecting their pain onto another person, because that's how they get relief. And now we see this on a macro basis. We see this on a global. I think I'm going to do a show on a global system, because remember, the mind map was meant to heal global disconnect, and this is very challenging for me to apply the mind map to a national and global system gone wrong. But obviously something is breaking down, and I would love to be a part of the breakthrough, because I still believe in the human soul. I think that when people are hurt and angry and don't feel that they're being heard, they will up the ante and they will try to be heard in other ways. And so when this happens, obviously it's not going to be humanly connecting. So it's sort of like, I heard, and so now I'm going to be hurting and out of, I'm going to be acting out and then I'll be heard. No, not exactly, because now people are going to run and their amygdalas are going to be activated and they're not going to be able to connect with you because they're not hearing the message. They're just running from the pain and the fear. So that's not a solution. So I do want to be a part of this solution. Very much so. I would love to apply the mind map to global issues.
I did download that years ago from you, just to let you know, and I gave him a copy, and I would have him watch your shows with me. I got the PDFs and everything. He likes you. I loved a lot of your shows that you had. You were on about intergenerational trauma and all that. Everything. You're great about everything. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, and this is a time where, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to dial down the amygdala and not to allow the empathy from human suffering. It's just that we need more like the Martin Luther King philosophy. We need more philosophy of people who are able to help people dial it down so that they can be heard. Because when you're yelling and screaming and acting out violently, you just can't, try it. Can you hear your partner when he's yelling at you or trying to hurt you? You can't hear it because you're busy in panel 5. You're defending yourself. So there's no human connection in this at all. So people just need a better pathway. And certainly people can't just shut up and quell the pain and shut down their voice. That's not a solution. So we've got to carve out better pathways. And one of the better pathways is a simple thing that I created called the Peaceful Healing Dialogue. And it's in the book. It's on my website. You can take it off the forum section. And it's a way to talk without blowing the connection. So
I agree. Could I just say one other thing in one show that really got me, because it reminded me of how my mother was and how she raised me, because I was raised kind of like you and your grandson when he was naming all of the, I'm going blank right now because I'm nervous. All of the mind map and how you were talking to him and how he repeated things as a child. That's the key. You have to start when you're a kid. But that relationship that I saw when you did that, that's how my mom was with me. And that's why I love people so much. So, but I just wanted to say that.
Unbelievable. And you got that square. He and I are so close. And he's such a challenge. He's like the biggest challenge I've ever had to deal with, because he's smart as a bitch, and
the blueberry.
What?
The blueberry story, I remember.
Well, like when he spilled the blueberry. I'm going to talk a lot more about this. I'm a real principles over people, you see, and that's I think another key to healing human disconnect is if you're number one, we're a human being. I don't care how much melanin we have in our skin. I don't care what ism we come from. And by ism, I mean our race, our religion, our politics, our whatever ism we happen to fall in. I want to talk more about that. Maybe I'll just expand the show to next week. No matter what, number one, we're a human being. And to solve the problem of who's right, I think principles over people. How's that? So when my grandson, who's my favorite person in the world, probably, for sure he is, and he knows it, and he uses it. So when he spills blueberries on the floor, I don't say, oh, just because you're my grandson, it's okay, grandma will clean it up. It's like, no, Alexandra, I'm sorry. If you want to play with, go to the park or whatever, you're just going to have to clean it up. So the principle is that if you spilled it on the floor, you clean it up. But grandma, you do it. No, Alexandra, I didn't spill it. So I guess that's true. And that teaches people at an early age to self-reflect and self-correct. There's no punishment in it. It's the correction to it is not punishment. The correction to it is self-correct. And that's the principles over people thing.
I appreciate your work. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate you saying that. And everybody, please feel free to download the book, and we have a great staff of people. People on staff offer free consultation if you want to learn more about this. And in any case, the book is free, PDF copy. Grab it, start learning, and then all of the videos that are up there, just keep learning. And like Dale does, keep going over and over and over it so that it becomes a natural way of processing. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening. Stay safe. Keep your amygdala dialed down. Hot baths, hot tea, self-care, yoga, good boundaries, and yeah, all of the above. Okay, see you next week. Good night, everybody.